Finn and Jake, the heroes of U, who protect the land from all sorts of evil and monsters that threaten to swallow it whole. Gojo Satoru, the sole protector of the Jujutsu world, whose mere existence wards off all cursed spirits and malevolent Jujutsu sorcerers. I thought it'd be an interesting fight to put the heroic duo of U versus the strongest sorcerer of the modern world and figure out who would win. If you want more of these type of matchups, be sure to sub and let me know in the comments. Alright, getting on to Finn and Jake first for the low ball section. Finn is usually regarded as equal to Jake the dog, who has a small building level calc where he casually punches a hole in the ground. Then moving on to the mid-ball scaling, where one time this creature named Orgalorg, his nickname being the Breaker of Worlds, he destroyed enough planets that it actually became his nickname, actually was harmed by Finn's grass sword quite casually. Then later on, that grass sword became its own person known as Fern. Finn the human is then able to wrestle and then defeat Fern, making Finn and thus Jake scale the Fern, who was able to damage Orgalorg. Then another argument for why Finn and Jake are this level is that the embodiment of evil, the Lich, was able to take control of some monsters with his magical breath and aura. These monsters are then able to casually bust entire planets, which has been calced at large planet level. Meanwhile, Finn the human is able to fight the Lich and just scale to him. At least somewhat, considering the Lich is pretty much the concept of evil in Adventure's time, while Finn is the concept of good, making it so Finn, via the narrative, can't be infinitely below the Lich or else the story just wouldn't work. Also, there's like the one time that the grass sword actually cut the Lich, who Finn then scales to later on. Lastly is the highball scaling, where things are getting crazy. One thing I didn't mention about Orgalorg is that he was actually absorbing the Catalyst Comet. This comet is said to be able to end all of existence, and by fusing or absorbing it, you become one with all of creation itself, which is a cosmic structure with infinite universes. Orgalorg absorbed a piece of the comet's infinite power, which still makes him infinite in power as well. Which leads to the scaling chain I already mentioned, which was the grass sword cutting up this same Orgalorg, and then Finn scaling to the grass sword later on. Another argument is that Finn sort of scales to Darren the Ancient Sleeper. Darren is someone who can destroy the Candy Kingdom across all of the infinite realities. Despite this power, Darren is not mentioned at all when Hunson Amadeus states that the Lich is the second most powerful evil creature in U, second to only himself, making the Lich scale above Darren's multiversal power, which again leads to how Finn scales to the Lich, making Finn and thus Jake multiversal even if they're somewhat below these entities. As for low ball speed, we have Finn easily deflecting the Ice King's lightning, making the duo lightning timers. Then for highball speed, there's the time Finn flew from Earth to Mars at FTL speeds, reacting to the things around him and also moving around as well, putting Finn and thus Jake at 6.4 times the speed of light as stated from a calc. Finally getting on to Gojo Satoru, similar to Finn and Jake, there's several ways to scale the Honored One. Starting with low ball AP scaling, he at least scales the Jogo's meteor, which flattened a part of a city, which was calced to be around large town level plus. Gojo easily no-dipped Jogo like nothing, similar to Sukuna, which at least makes Gojo scale to this level. Then for mid-ball scaling, we ramp it up with someone named Yuki, who managed to produce a black hole that was stated to be able to destroy the world. However, this feat was calculated to be large planet level, if not higher. Gojo is stated to be the strongest, and his technique is stated to be omnipotent, making Gojo scale above this world-ending black hole. As for highball Gojo, while many may be skeptical, there's a few arguments that could put Gojo on the same tier as a highballed Finn and Jake, so this fight isn't a stomp. So you just have to hear me out. First would be Yorozu's infinite point sphere. This literal perfect sphere has infinite points of contact, which basically means it's infinitely compressed to the point where interacting with it will utterly destroy you. Mahoraga is easily able to adapt to this sphere and destroy it. Meanwhile, it takes the creature way longer to adapt to Gojo's infinity. So basically, the idea is that the perfect sphere has infinite attack potency, and then Gojo would scale above this infinite AP since he is stronger than Mahoraga, who one-shot it. Then there's Toji's chain of 1,000 miles, which is a chain with the ability to extend forever as long as one of its ends are not seen, making the chain infinite in length. Does have infinite mass, which you need infinite strength just to move the chain around the same way we see Toji easily move it. Gojo, even as a teen, outscales this Toji, and current Gojo scales to Sukuna, who easily defeats Maki Zenin, who is equal to Toji, giving Gojo infinite strength as well to an even better degree. Lastly, there's his domain expansion called Infinite Void, which is shown to have a universe inside it. Now, with some charity or benefit of the doubt, one can argue this universe is literal, and that Gojo has the power to create the whole thing. Similar to how some may argue Dagon's island and ocean in his domain is something he actually had the power to make in its totality. You can even argue that since the way Gojo's infinity works is that there's multiple sets of infinities in terms of distance he can put between himself and his target. Meanwhile, Infinite Void could have this multiple sets of infinities and thus be more like multiversal instead of just universal. However, I admit that's stretching it. Ending this Gojo section with speed, we have him scaling above Toji, who can react to lightning coming his way. Then later on, we have Amber Beast Kashimo sending electromagnetic waves at Sukuna, who manages to dodge them, and as I said, Gojo scales to Sukuna. This was calculated to be at best 2.5 times the speed of light. Then the best speed for Gojo is infinite speed, since he can move inside a realm that's stated to have no time in it at all. So finally getting on to the fight itself, we have the low ball fight where both sides are lightning timers, but Gojo's large talent level plus AP is superior to Finn and Jake's mere small building AP, giving Gojo the edge in pure stats. In the mid ball, we have the fight being fairly equal with their large planet level AP, but if we give Finn and Jake their FTL speed, they're 2.4 times faster than Gojo's mid ball speed, giving the duo the advantage stats wise in the mid ball section. Lastly, in the highball fight, we have Gojo with arguably wank levels of AP to nearly put him at multiversal level, or at least have multiversal hacks, with instead universal seeming more consistent in comparison in my opinion. Meanwhile, it takes less effort to put Finn and Jake at multiversal level, thanks to various scans helping them out, with Gojo at this point relying on his infinite speed to help him out. So Finn and Jake would be vastly, if not infinitely stronger, however, they can never actually land a hit on Gojo with his speed. Not to mention his infinity would protect him anyway, though it's unlikely Gojo can damage Finn and Jake as well. So all that was just stats comparisons, but what about their abilities? Well, Gojo could rely on his multiversal domain expansion to try and fry Finn and Jake's brains. However, Jake actually has a counter to this. One time Jake was quite literally imagining everything, and while he was in pain and his brain was enlarging, he survived for several seconds without any long-term effects, actually making it so Jake can tank Gojo's unlimited void. However, it's harder to argue Finn scales to this and probably would get tagged by this, though it's possible to survive anyway, since even humans like Sukuna can survive with only a part of his brain being damaged, but yet is able to fight afterwards anyway. So while Finn might survive and be frozen in place, Jake can proceed forward. So this whole video leads to the question, however, can Finn or Jake get past Gojo's infinity? Well, yes. In that same episode where Jake imagined everything, him and Finn were using their ability of imagining things and bringing it forth into reality, pretty much having straight up reality warping. So they could quite literally imagine Gojo either die or have his infinity be taken away, or imagine a weapon that can slice through it. However, there's the one time Finn obtained a 4th dimensional sword that managed to destroy a 4th dimensional black hole. This sword would in fact slice through Gojo's infinity, since even Sukuna's world slash can. So this stacked with their literal imagination would pretty much ruin any chance of Gojo winning, even with his highball domain expansion. So overall, I give the win to Finn and Jake with their mostly better stats and better hacks. Anyway, peace out.